Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world joining us today. It's my honor to open today's Senior Assembly, which marks the official beginning of our celebrations of the class of 2021. Welcome to that celebration, everyone. Please welcome 1, 2, and 3-year seniors. Now, it is with special pride that I welcome the 4-year seniors who started this journey with me together 4 years ago. Please welcome our 4-year seniors. Looking good, seniors. Love your shirts. It is with mixed emotions that I stand here today. First, it feels really awesome to be back together again, to be standing in front of you for the Senior Assembly. I can think of no better way to reopen the Bodman in an all-school meeting than to honor our seniors and all they've accomplished, particularly in the last year. I also couldn't be more proud and excited to welcome this amazing group into the Kents Hill alumni family. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm a bit sad that all of our seniors are not able to be here because of the pandemic. I particularly want to recognize the 6 4-year seniors who are unable to join us today, and recognize all of our remote seniors who have accomplished so much through resilience, determination, and flexibility to make it through this year while not being on campus and having the support of their amazing classmates. Seniors, wow, what a year it has been. It's my privilege to welcome you into the ranks of nearly 200 years of Kents Hill graduates. They are a strong and proud group who love Kents Hill School. I've spoken with hundreds of them. They're universally grateful for their time on the Hill and how it set many of them up for future success. Many, from all decades, continue to support and serve Kents Hill as faculty and staff, as board members, through their philanthropy, and by supporting other Kents Hill School alumnus. Most importantly, our alumni talk about their friendships. Lifelong friendships they developed here on the Hill with their classmates. I suspect that over the years, when each of you has a significant life event, there are people in this room today who will be there with you and for you to celebrate or to help get you through them. This is the strength of the Kents Hill family. Alumni also talk about how their teachers and coaches mentored and guided them, not only at Kents Hill, but also beyond. People like Mr. DeHaven and Mrs. Dunn, who in their combined 70-plus years of service have literally impacted, guided, transformed thousands of Kents Hill alums. In the past 1 to 4 years, you joined a school, a special community on the Hill, where we have learned and grown both personally and collectively. Today, It is my pleasure to welcome you to the broader Kents Hill alumni community, a community of 4,700 proud alums who are ready to welcome you to their ranks. Congratulations for all you've accomplished. I look forward to an amazing week ahead, celebrating all that you have done. I would now like to introduce Bob Whitaker, our Director of Advancement.
Congratulations, seniors. You excited to be where you are right now? Are you excited to where you're heading in the future? As Mr. Cheney just shared, you're now joining a group that's 4,700 strong and spread across the globe. And it is a community, and our interest here in our Office of Alumni Relations, which is housed in the Office of Advancement, is to keep you connected and to invite you back to campus, to invite you to come together as a class every 5, 10, 15, 20 years out, and times in between through social gatherings in the communities where you land. When you land in those communities, we invite you to reach out to us to find out if there are alumni in your area, so we can help connect you to those alumni that are in your community where you do move to, if you don't move far from the Hill. So it's a very exciting thing to join this community, and they are interested in supporting you both while you're here as students as well as after you leave and move on to be graduates. And that's certainly something we want to share with you so that you can stay connected with us. Definitely invite you to stay connected, and naturally you will stay connected with your faculty and other staff that you've made contacts and developed deep relationships with since you've been here. And we just ask that you help keep us informed with where you go, as you move on to college, as you move on to career. Keep us updated with your information so we can remain in contact and be able to continuously invite you back and to different gatherings around the country and around the world. That's really the gist of what I have to share. The other person that you need to know is Emily Beliveau, who is standing in the back of the room, and she has helped to put this together. Thank you, Emily, to putting this event together. And we're very happy to organize this event so that you all can have that welcome and recognition that you're now part of a much bigger community. And obviously, of course, thank you to Erica and Addie and Andrea and everyone else that helped make this event happen. So thank you very much, and it is my pleasure now to welcome Adit Desai to the stage, your class president.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. And wow, like Mr. Cheney said, it is really nice to see everyone here together. It's also nice not to have to worry about my Wi-Fi cutting in and out. Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew, for all your work on that. It has been better, but yeah, as you already know, today we're gathered here today to celebrate and appreciate the seniors. The seniors have done so much for us all, and ever since I joined the community, Kents Hill community, the class of 2021 has pushed for change in countless ways. For those of you that were here back in the 2018-2019 year, think about how much has changed. Students are so much more involved in everything that we do. Most of the changes and rules in place now were set by students working together with faculty. You can see it happening in groups such as the Athletic Council, the proctors, the peer advisors, the Student Council, and the COVID Task Force. Things like room visitation, homecoming, and even our current dress code. They all came from students in our class working to make campus life better for us all. Specifically in those situations, thank you, Mel, and thank you, Delaney, for all of your hard work on that. You've made our years here better, and you will continue to make every year in the future better with something you created and will now leave behind. However, there's always more to do. Some of you will have to step up in the future and work to keep making this place better, just as the class of 2021 has. Honestly, I can stand up here and hype up the seniors all day because we deserve a little recognition for all that we've persevered through this year. We had one of the toughest senior years in history. COVID caused us so many problems, and yeah, we were down at times, but we never let COVID get in the way of having fun. Thanks to tons of student input and an incredible amount of help from Ms. Chute, we were still able to have fun. We were still able to make the most out of a crappy situation. We took all of the strict COVID guidelines and found ways to have fun while still following them, most of the time. However, I know it was still a tough year for everyone, so we all deserve a pat on the back for making it through. But it's not over just yet. We still have a couple more days on the Hill, and I plan to enjoy every single one. This year has been crazy, but honestly, it has been a good year. And so I'd just like to thank you all for making this year as amazing and as fun as it was. Thank you for being a part of mine and the rest of the seniors' journey through the end of high school. And as we're coming up on the end, I can truly say that I have enjoyed my time here, and I will always cherish the bonds and friendships that I have made here in this community. To close it off, I'll introduce the next speaker. This next speaker has been a role model to me throughout my entire time on the Hill. Every time I see him, whether it be walking along the paths, in the dining hall, or in the classroom, he's always smiling and he always stops to say hi. And he asks me how my day is going. He cares and he shows it. He's been in my corner since the very beginning, and he supported me through all of my ups and downs throughout my 3 years. And because of that, I just want to say thank you, D-Have. Thank you for everything that you have done for me, and thank you for always being a friendly face wherever you are. So yeah, thank you all for your time, and give it up for D-Have.
Given the way that my Kent Hill career started, it's a minor miracle that I made it through the first few years. In some ways, it's a miracle that I stayed, and in some ways, it's a miracle that the school wanted me to stay. When we first came to Kent Hill in 1987, our oldest son, Javen, was 6 weeks old, and Diane, Javen, our dog Stevie, and I moved into one of the small apartments in the middle of Main Hall. The whole apartment is really 3 dorm rooms. One is a bedroom, one's a living room, and one's a kitchen. The only way we could fit was to set up Javen's crib in the kitchen. It was tight. Kent Hill had a huge football program at the time with about 40 PGs, all of whom lived in Main Hall. The dean of students lived in one apartment at the end of the dorm, but he never, ever came out of his apartment after 8 o'clock. So even though I knew nothing about running a boys' dorm, I was the de facto dorm head. On the very first night after curfew, I heard some noise down the hall, so I went out to see what was up. I wasn't out of my apartment for more than 30 seconds when I saw a kid running out of his room, and right behind him was his roommate with a can of Right Guard with the spray lit on fire. So he had a big lighter, and he's spraying the Right Guard and throwing a flame. I thought he had a flamethrower. They were laughing like crazy. I wasn't. After curfew, during the first few weeks, kids were in and out of the rooms all over the dorm. When I'd kick kids out of one room, there'd be others in other rooms. It was mayhem, and I was on my own. About 2 months into school, one kid who lived down the hall, at the end of our hall, came out of his room 4 or 5 nights a week at about 1:30 or 2 in the morning and just screamed, a primal scream, top of his lungs. It was crazy. Diane and I would both wake up, super worried that the screamer was going to wake the baby, and so I'd go out in the hall to try to figure out what was going on. For the first week, I didn't know who it was, though I had my suspicions. Eventually, I found out. Turns out his roommate and neighbors weren't exactly crazy about his antics. Anyway, when the screaming commenced each night, I'd go to the kid's room. He'd pretend to be asleep. I'd tell him to cut it out, and he'd pretend he had no idea what I was talking about. I told the dean, but since no kids would back me up, the dean used his favorite line, which was, "You shoot the ducks you see," which meant if I couldn't prove who the culprit was, he could and would not do anything about it. After about a month, the kid got tired of it, quit screaming. The dorm was still pretty crazy, but because kids were up at all hours, but I pretty much let them do it. After all, I had a day job as a new teacher and a coach. Therefore, when I wasn't grading papers, I was preparing for class or hockey, trying to find some time to spend with my family and occasionally get some rest. So things kind of settled down for a couple of weeks. It was not a particularly pleasant living arrangement. Even though I was in charge of the dorm, it sure didn't feel like it. I wondered if we'd made the right decision in coming to Kents Hill. Then something really weird happened. We used to keep a lot of the baby stuff out in the hall because there was just no room in the apartment. Stuff like the baby stroller, the wagon, the sled, the portable crib, all the big stuff that we couldn't put anywhere else. So one night, right after Christmas break, I went out in the hall after curfew to make sure everything was okay, and when I walked past the stroller, I saw that somebody spit on the seat. Needless to say, I was appalled. So I went to every room and made the kids come out in the lounge. They all wanted to know what was up. I just said, "Get out in the lounge." By the time everybody got there, it was obvious to everybody that I was pretty unhappy. I told them what had happened, and I said it was too much. I told the boys that I want to live in a place where something like that could happen, and I didn't think they did either. Finally, I said, "Look, I have no interest in knowing who did it, but I know by the time you guys get back to your rooms, most of you are going to know. Therefore, I'm going to leave it up to you to make sure that nothing like that ever happens again." Surprisingly, at least it was a surprise to me, it was kind of a turning point. I'd be lying if I said the guys started sitting around in the dorm singing Kumbaya, but things definitely got better. During the first trimester, most of my students didn't really like my classes, but by January, I'd learned to run a discussion and joke around a little bit, and my classes began to be tolerable not only for me, but for my students. Also, it was the middle of hockey season, and I was head coach, so because of our mutual love of the game, the hockey guys kind of liked me. By the third trimester, it seemed like we might actually make it through the year. So when it came time to sign a new contract, we decided we'd come back for the next year and try it again. Within a few years, we really liked it here. Rhys Bonifant became the head of school, and he appointed me the first faculty representative to the Board of Trustees, and then academic dean, and within a few years, director of college counseling. It was pretty crazy running the academic program, teaching a couple of classes, working with all the seniors on college applications, coaching a couple of sports, and not to mention having 2 young kids, and by that time Diane was working here at KH too. But I really loved it here because, as Yusuf Islam said in the song, "Miles from Nowhere," I had my freedom and I could make my own rules, and that really appealed to me. So while the beginning of my tenure, I had some experiences that made me question whether or not I should be here. During the next few years, I was fortunate to work for Mr. Bonifant because he gave me the freedom to make my own rules when anybody else probably would have fired me. Let me explain. After we'd been here for 4 or 5 years, during the summer, we made some changes that were unpopular with the students. So one day in the fall, before one of my classes, my students were whining about the new rules, and I said, "Stop complaining and do something about it." They said, "How?" And I mentioned some ways to initiate change: student council, talk to the head of school, that kind of stuff. I ended the discussion by saying that when I was in high school, we wanted to have a smoking area. I grant you, it was not a particularly laudable thing to fight for. Anyway, the administration of my high school did not want to discuss it. So about 75 students went into school one morning, refused to go to classes, and sat down on the floor outside the principal's office until they agreed to talk about it. After I finished telling the story, I started class and didn't think anything about it. At the time, the fencing studio was a theater, and that's where we had school meeting. So 2 days after we had the create your own change discussion in my class, we were in school meeting. When it ended, 40 or 50 kids just sat there. Nobody really knew it until the next class started, and there were lots of kids absent. And so they sat in the theater all day. And I thought this was pretty funny. They all went to lunch. But then went back after lunch and hung out in the theater for the rest of the day. Anyway, the next day I was in a meeting with Mr. Bonifant and a few other people, and everybody started talking about the sit-in. And Mr. Bonifant says, when I went to talk to the kids in the theater, they wouldn't tell me who, but they said that a faculty member told them to do it. As you might imagine, I was like, what? Yeah, he said, a faculty member told him to do it. So I said, that was me. But I didn't exactly tell them to do it. And then I explained what happened. I thought he was going to fire me on the spot. But he took it right in stride and went right on with the meeting, and he never said another word about it. except, of course, give me grief about it in the ensuing years. A couple of years later, we moved school meeting, which was 4 days a week at the time, to the chapel, and we had it at 7:45 in the morning. Students had to sit with their advisors, and if they weren't at the meeting, advisors were supposed to go to their advisees' dorms and make sure they got up to go to class. I had a kid who missed repeatedly, so I went to his room and told him the next time he didn't show, I was going to come to his room and dump a bucket of water on him. I almost immediately regretted it because I knew I was going to have to do it, and do it soon. His roommate was my advisee too, and he was in the dorm room when I said it. Of course, the next day, the kid didn't show up at school meeting, so over to Sampson I went with all my advisees in tow. When I got into the dorm, some kid produced a half-gallon pitcher. I went to the bathroom and filled it up. By that time, I had 10 or 15 kids in my wake. I went to the kid's room and opened the door. He was sleeping in the top bunk, and I poured the whole pitcher right on his head. That time, I did get in trouble, but not with Mr. Bonifant. He again took it right in stride. Rather, I got in trouble with the business manager because not only did I ruin the kid's mattress, but the water went right through to the bottom bunk and ruined his roommate's mattress too. Anyway, the kid didn't miss meeting for a long time, and I got to continue working here. I was really lucky to find a kindred spirit in Mr. Bonifant, who believed as strongly as I do in the core values of the school and that one person, a principal, can always make a difference. Even though he never said it to me directly, it's always been clear to me that Mr. Bonifant believes that above all else, education should lead to wisdom. And I can unequivocally say that Mr. Bonifant is the wisest man that I know. He also believed that fewer and more ambiguous rules were best for all concerned. It took me a minute to come around to that idea, but I did because of the way that he explained it. When you have a small school in a tight community, treating everyone the same doesn't work. For me, one of the 3 hallmarks of KH has always been that each person, and that includes students as well as faculty and staff, is an individual and deserves to be treated as such. The second, but no less important, is that we all make mistakes and therefore everybody deserves a second chance. And the third is that the entire enterprise, like any true community, is based on trust. So if the administration trusts the faculty and the faculty trusts the students, you don't need a plethora of rules and policies. And so we just trusted that given the choice, the people in the community would choose to do what was right. The only thing we really had to figure out was what we were going to do when someone broke that trust. And the answer was easy: give them another chance. It was only after repeated breaches of trust that anyone would ever have to be separated from the community. And those are very rare and very difficult decisions to make. There is, of course, another time when you get separated from the community, and that's when it's time to graduate, or in my case, retire. But by that time, if it's Kent Hill, you're ready. I was talking to TJ a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him if he would want to come back to Kent Hill for any reason for another year. He said, "Dave, it's been a great run, but I'm ready to go." It's always with mixed emotions that teachers and parents hear those words. We're always sad to see you go, but always thankful when we know you're ready. I hope that all of you in your lives find a place that is well suited to you as Kent Hill has been to me. The main reason Kent Hill has been so good for me, along with the fact that my values have been so often in sync with the values of Kent Hill, is that my life has been a continuous give and take. I've loved sharing what I know on the rink, on the tennis courts, and in the classroom with students, and as dean of faculty with other teachers. But for as much as I've taught people, I've learned more from students, teachers, and staff. So when I found out I was going to give this speech, I asked some alums and some former teachers and staff members to help me come up with some advice for you. And to my surprise, all of them got back to me. So here goes. Jim Smucker, former AD and math teacher, says that every day you're getting either better or worse. So the best thing you can do is make sure you get 1% better every day. He also said that you should try to meet as many people as you possibly can. Mike Burke worked in our maintenance department for 40 years before retiring last year. During the years that I have known Mike, I have learned through his example to be generous and humble. But most of all, Mike taught me to be loyal. His son Jake is now in charge of maintenance and has worked here for 20 years. His father-in-law, Buster Potter, for whom the maintenance building is named, was head of maintenance for 32 years, meaning that the 3 members of that same family have worked here for close to 100 years. That's loyalty. Mike also taught me to treat others the way you want to be treated, a lesson that I hope I've passed on to some of you. Aaron Rammert, class of '90, taught me to seize the day. He said that a high school kid could take that as a reason to party. You know, overload your senses as much and often as you can. But what it really means is that you're responsible for your own lives, and it's up to you to make them what you want them to be. So be bold in your dreams and work hard every day to achieve them. Larry Cockrell, former hockey coach and admissions associate, has taught, and some of you, many valuable lessons. First, you need the people you lead, teach, or coach a whole lot more than they need you. In other words, take care of your people, and they will take care of you. Be a pro. Show up prepared and well-dressed, and you'll never go wrong. Work hard, have fun, and keep your feet moving. That goes for life as well as hockey. And finally, on time is late, so show up early. Amanda Rem, former chair of our World Languages Department, taught me that you can't control other people, particularly the way they think and act. So don't waste time, energy, money, and emotions on things you can't control. Focus on your own effort, your own attitude, and how you choose to respond. Hard work and a good attitude are worth a lot more than talent. Will Rem, former head of our English department and Amanda's husband, told me to see the world. Through travel, you will simultaneously feel more bold and less important, more confident and more humble. And travel will teach you to be a more empathetic human being. Will also said that no matter what you do, strive to be good and do good. Miss Nanoff taught me, and many of you, that you gotta show up. She learned the hard way from someone who did not show up even though he should have. So show up for the class, for the test, for your mother's birthday, for your friend's wedding, because before you can do anything else, you gotta show up. Reed Bluin, class of 2012, told me you gotta get back up. Reed has been knocked down many times due to childhood trauma and a struggle with addiction. But he knows that when life knocks you down, and as many of you know it will, things will get better, but the good part always starts when you get back up. Tom Nanoff, Miss Nanoff's husband, is an insurance executive and former Army First Sergeant. He told me to lead by example and never, ever ask anyone to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. Amy Smucker, a former student, hockey coach, and director of admissions here, told me 2 things. First, she said, when you get out of college, get a good mattress. You spend a lot of time in bed, and having a good mattress makes a world of difference. She also told me that you're allowed to change your mind. You don't have to stick with what you've always believed or done or dreamed. Don't be afraid to give yourself permission to change course. Sophie Boulay, class of 2016, said that you'll savor your successes more when you realize it's not up to other people, because only you can determine when you're successful. Javen DeHaven, our son, and a member of the class of 2006, quoted the Zen master Shunri Suzuki, who said, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. Meaning that as a young person, you will encounter parents, teachers, and coaches who at times will be dismissive of your perspective. But don't ever forget that your perspective as a young person is valuable because it's fresh and it's yours. Jen Thompson, Javen's wife, taught me to always remember one thing at a time, the most important thing first. Our other son, Ben, class of 2008, shared a few things that he wished he knew when he graduated from high school. First, if you're in a situation that isn't working for you, find a way to get out of it. Second, there is nothing more liberating than making a decision. And finally, Your life is your responsibility. It's up to you to figure out your values and to live according to those values. I hope you've gotten a start here at KH in considering those values. But when you leave, you'll really get to decide what you value by talking with other people, by listening, by reading, by traveling, by having fun, and by acting with kindness and compassion when you do all those things. Jake Mitchell, class of 2006, who, by the way, is Miss Botino's husband and a lifelong family friend of ours, taught me a Calvin Coolidge quote: "Nothing takes the place of persistence." Tiffany Cockrell, Larry's wife and Jake's mom, has taught me to be direct. The way she puts it is, make sure the knot is in the correct stomach. If something's bothering you, it's probably because of somebody else. If you can find a way to share that information, it'll be good for your mental health, because you'll get the knot out of your stomach and into the stomach of the person who should have it. Xander Shaw, class of 2012, who incidentally was the first person to ever call me D, taught me that whenever you feel joy, you should share it with loved ones and neighbors near and far. Xander also taught me that you should live any lifestyle that you wish, but always try to live conscientiously, lovingly, and with a sense of community. Jake Cockrell told me that when he was in high school, he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, but emotionally, he felt like all his peers knew exactly what they were doing. He knew intellectually that everyone was in the same boat he was in, but he just couldn't make himself believe it. The end of high school is a joyful, exciting, and anxiety-producing time. Share your joys and excitement and anxieties with your friends. It'll make this time better. Jake also shared a couple of pieces of advice. The first came from his dad, who often said, "Don't show up and throw up." And by that, he meant, when you're in a new situation, listen first, and when you do speak, choose your words carefully. And the second came from Jake's mom, who told him, "Don't live a life of should. You know, I should have gone out for that team, or I should have introduced myself to that kid, or I should have stayed home and done my work. Rather, live a life of could. Do the things that you know in your heart are right. It's often more difficult, but it'll keep you from living a life of could." Finally, I've learned an enormous amount from you. For most of my adult life, I've been an optimist. Not a glass half full kind of guy, but a glass 3/4 full. Even when things have not gone my way, I've always been hopeful and confident about the future. Then last year about this time, for a variety of reasons, I started to focus on the negative. By the time fall rolled around, I really could have gone either way. But I saw that many of you have had serious trials and tribulations in your lives. I'm not going to single anybody out, but you know who you are. Anyway, many of you have had difficult times this year, but from the way I saw it, you remained positive and showed me that being an optimist and knowing that good things are going to happen is a choice. I'll be forever grateful to you for making this COVID year a fun-filled, positive year for me. I can't tell you how happy I am that we came here 34 years ago and that we made it through the first few years so that I could be here with you today. I'm grateful that Riss Bonifant saw me as a passionate educator rather than a crazy person. And for that reason, he allowed me to help him lead Kent Hill School into the 21st century. Over the years, I've met lots of people. I've learned to be loyal and to treat others the way I want to be treated. I've shown up, I've gotten back up, I've found my own successes, I've led by example, I've made decisions, and I've shown up without throwing up. I'm still trying to seize the day, have a good attitude, not be afraid to change my mind, do one thing at a time, act with kindness and compassion, remember that my perspective counts, to be direct and to live conscientiously, loving, and with a sense of community. And along the way, I've made lots and lots of friends. I really try to get 1% better every day, and I try to live a life of could. I hope you will too. When Ms. Chute told me you'd elected me to be the senior speaker this year, I was so happy I almost cried. I'm deeply humbled and honored by your confidence in giving me this opportunity. I'm going to miss you the same way I miss my own children when they're away, and I hope to see you all again. Just two more things. Don't give up on reading. Mrs. Cockrell put it best when she said, "Reading doesn't suck." After having people in high school and college tell you what to read and when to read it, it might be hard for a non-reader to believe. But reading is not only enjoyable, it can be a great coping strategy when life is stressful. So read all you can. And finally, be kind to your parents. They'll help you in any way that they can, but you have to meet them halfway. I hope all of you, like TJ, have had a great run and that you're ready to go. I know that I have, and I am. I'll be forever grateful and proud to be a member of the class of 21. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Whitestone and Ms. Holmes will be giving the Banner Award.
Good morning, everyone. Ms. Holmes and I are really excited to be giving the Banner Award today. It's hard to believe that it's been 4 years since many of you entered Kents Hill as freshmen, and you sat around tables pushed together in the Commons to begin your class core value discussion. I'm sure you all remember that well, and if you watch the slideshow carefully, you'll see an image of you all sitting around the tables discussing. The process deciding by a unanimous vote on a core value that your class will exemplify over the course of your years on the Hill is an exhausting task, especially at 8 o'clock at night with ice cream sundaes waiting at the end. You debated and you discussed and you took a vote after vote, dropping the stones into the buckets until finally you all agreed on one core value. That core value was courage. Seems appropriate. The Banner Award singles out one individual voted on by the seniors who has truly exemplified your class core value. Although as an entire class in the face of a pandemic, remote learning, day-to-day uncertainty, and worries about the future, each and every one of you have been amazing role models in courage.
A year before I arrived on the Hill, the class of 2021 chose courage to be their class's core value. There was no way to know that this class would end their journey through Kents Hill amidst a global pandemic, one that challenged this class to be courageous in so many ways throughout the year. I note this because it's important to state that there's no shortage of courageous individuals in the class of 2021. And this only helps to highlight the excellence of the student receiving this year's Banner Award. This student was chosen by his peers for epitomizing courage, for his unwavering commitment to his friendships, peers, and community, and for being unapologetically himself, a feat of courage few are able to accomplish, especially in high school. In the nominations from his peers, many describe not only the courage that this student exudes, but also the ways in which he was able to help others in his community feel more confident in themselves. In their nomination, one member of the class of 2021 noted that this student is courageous not only as a person, but as a friend. This sentiment is echoed and built upon in the various other nominations he received. Another classmate states that he risked being vulnerable while putting himself out there to the community when he didn't know exactly what to expect. He has shown that he's willing to help anyone still apprehensive about doing the same. However, one nomination, in my opinion, beautifully encompasses the courage and impact that this student has exhibited during his time at Kents Hill. It goes as follows. He shows an amazing amount of courage as well as inspires me to be the best version of myself always. By being the best version of himself, it made me want to be truly who I am. He made me feel comfortable with who I am as well as who I want to be. This courage, sense of self, and commitment to being the best friend and community member possible is exactly what I have seen from this student since he joined my advisory group 2 years ago. He is always willing to speak up about what is important, to offer support to others, and to encourage others to be together and enjoy the time that they get to share. I am so grateful to have been able to work with you, and I can't think of a better recipient for this award. This year's banner award goes to Daniel Watts.
We'd like to introduce Ms. Arsenault and Ms. Pickett, your senior class advisors.
Andrew water? I think you have to give another speech for that. Just on a super brief note, Ms. Arsenault and I both want to thank you so much for allowing us to be your senior class advisors. I never show favorites, as Alexis knows, but but the class of 21 holds a very special place in our hearts, so thank you very much for that. We are up here to present the James Hansen Award. This award is given to that senior who, in the judgment of his or her classmates, best demonstrates the enthusiasm for life and the love of Kents Hill that Mr. Hansen personified.
This year's winner is Emmanuel Reda.
We would like to now invite your senior class president, Delaney Feedy and Mel Volpe, up to the stage. Representatives, excuse me.
We have a stool. Okay. Oh, yeah. We, the graduating class of 2021, hereby dedicate this year's Polaris to Miss Janet Dunn. When Miss Dunn was tutoring students at her kitchen table in 1980, she probably had no idea of what a profound impact she would have on so many students over the years. Miss Dunn believes that no student is without talent, and she always made us feel that we had worth and something to offer, both in the classroom and in the community. She taught us the Kents Hill School core values by her own personal actions. She taught us to take responsibility for our own achievement and encouraged us to persevere through the toughest times. She helped us find the courage to take on new challenges and be better than we thought we could be. She made us be honest about our challenges and our limitations, and she helped us to celebrate all of our achievements. She was patient beyond reason, and while she didn't tolerate any nonsense, she did have infinite compassion for our struggles and was both a mentor and a friend, as well as a great teacher. She did all of this with an unselfish, altruistic spirit, with the goal of making us scholars in ways we never thought we could. And lest we forget sportsmanship, Miss Dunn also had infinite patience in the equestrian arena and shared her love of horses with anyone who asked. These qualities and these contributions to the lives of the students with whom she worked directly might have been enough of a personal legacy. However, Miss Dunn did so much more. Because she conveyed the value and meaning of her efforts to the entire Kents Hill School faculty and advocated for all faculty and all students collectively to see what she saw. She led the school in becoming more understanding, more inclusive, more responsive, and more reflective, and in all, kinder as an institution and a community. Ms. Dunn helped to shape the school's entire culture and identity in her time on the Hill. Every single student and continues to benefit from that. From all of us, Ms. Dunn, thank you for your service to Kents Hill School and congratulations on your retirement.
I'm a little emotional. Bear with me. We, the graduating class of 2021, hereby dedicate this year's Polaris to Mr. Jeffrey D. Have. Mr. D. Haven, D. Have, Jeff, Coach, JDH, Mr. D. No matter what you call him, he has had a profound impact on our lives in so many ways. D. Have was passionate about everything he does, but most importantly, about helping us become the best people we could be. In the classroom, he was passionate about English, and he made us learn to love American literature and to be creative in the ways of how we express ourselves. He made us define what we believe and then taught us how to broadcast them to the world in a podcast. He loved to come to class every day. He loved to teach. He always had a smile on his face, even when we knew he was not pleased with us, and his enthusiasm and commitment to students is unparalleled. On the rink, he made us believe that hockey is the best sport ever, and we could be world-class players, and he saw the potential in every one of us, and we wanted to be better for him. On the courts, he made us believe that tennis is the best sport ever, and we would be world-class players, and he saw the potential in every one of us, and we wanted to be better for him. Basically, Jeff D. Have believed in us. He willingly, often joyfully, shared his life stories with us and wanted us to know the success does not always come on the paths others set us on, and that we should follow our hearts to find our own way. He encouraged us to be free thinkers, to choose our dreams, to find our own paths, and to be grounded in our character and core values. When he spoke in front of the school, he would always take time to single out members of the community and point out things about them. Shout out GJ. And he could do this for every person on this campus. He never stopped reading us articles or showing us videos about people who had persevered under extreme conditions, and it was clear that he had a soft spot for the underdog, and he loved a good comeback story. So now we wish him the best as he heads into retirement. We know that he will continue to be positive, passionate, and supportive. And if we stop by to visit him on the golf course, where he will be hanging out, he will be happy to make us believe that golf is the best sport ever, that we could be world-class players, and we will want to be better people for him.
Hello. I am so honored to be able to give you, four-year seniors, back the letters that you wrote to yourselves when you were freshmen. So during freshman orientation, we had sessions, and you rotated from different session to different session, and one of them was you sat in a room and we gave you sort of a prompt, and you wrote a letter to yourself, and we sealed it with wax, and then you gave it to us and probably forgot about it. But we have them here, and I'm going to give them back to you. But first, I wanted to share some of the people who are not with us. Just 1 second. And maybe you'll remember some of these people in your class. So we have, oh boy. Mark Andre. Noah Cannell. Rory Keverline. Anna LaBerge. Hunter Burke. Chase Gregory, Jilly Jackson, Tom Kavanaugh, and Phoenix Wielden. So they really missed out by not being here with you today. And I also wanted to share the other four-year seniors who are not able to pick up their letters today, but we will make sure that they get them. And that is, let me see here. We have Lenny. We have Cam Knowles. We have Oscar Wen, Jessica Zhang, William Liu, and Peter Mu, and Alex Gao. Oh, and David. I'm so sorry. I don't think he had a letter in here. All right, so how this is going to work is I'm going to say your name, and then if you could just stand, we will pass your letter to you. You do not have to open this right now. You can open it later. But first up, we have Josie Palmer, Alexis, Xavier, Danny Eade, whoops, that's Phoenix, Delaney, Feeney, Daniel Watts,
Emily Feeney,
JJ, Jordy, Kelly, TJ, DJ, Luca, Cody, and one of the last things that we have for you is a slideshow, and I have to thank Miss Jillian Barnes and Emily, and of course Mark. Mark, you deserve so much thanks for everything. So you know that technology and I are not really good friends. So I'm going to try and play this. Oh, I'm going to cry. So thank you again to Jillian and Mark and Emily for putting that together. I know it took a lot of time. Next up, we have a tradition with our last school meeting of our current all-school president passing off the torch to a predecessor. So if Adit could come up for one last time. But first off, I'm going to announce the results of the elections. The rising sophomore president, Eli Reynolds, and vice president, Trevor Chute.
Hey, Trevor!
The rising junior president is Lena Andando. And vice president, Phoebe Simpson. And rising senior class president is Amita. And VP is Jack Bonifant.
And your student body president for next year is Jackson Melendi. And Naima is your vice president. Jackson, do you want to come up here? Put you on the spot a little bit. Let's go. All right, so for those of you who were here last year, you remember that at a lot of the morning meetings, we would play a couple of games. So can I get a couple of volunteers? Bring a chair up. Let's go, let's go. People in the back, teachers, students. Oh, okay, never mind. Don't bring a chair, don't bring a chair. Mel. We have chairs. Volunteers, let's go. Come on, guys. As always, the seniors know what's up. More chairs, more chairs, more chairs. Okay. All right, perfect. Guys, how's our chair to person ratio here? I don't think we're there yet, guys. How many people?
Pull off people who are underclass. Like start with the seniors, keep the seniors up, and then Zach, Jonah. Sorry.
What? Oh. I think they're in the yearbook. Baby. Already asked about baby pictures. No, let's go. Come on, let's go. Hurry up here. Oh.
Let's go, Melinda. Keep moving. Keep moving. Come on, Frenchies. You're losing representation here. Keep up. There we go. All right, here we go. Who's gonna take it all?
Send them off.
All right, well, that was fun. Hopefully next year, Jackson and Naima, you guys will carry that on and play a lot of games up here. But I guess to end it all off, thank you all for coming and thank you all for listening. Thank you, D-Have, and thank you, Miss Dunn, for all of your time here. And thank you, D-Have, again for your speech. It always brings tears to my eyes. But yeah, congrats, seniors. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Have a good rest of the day, guys.